Good evening. It's one of those things that kind of marks Trump as a supremely negative individual. I know some people might think it's cute, but I think it just shows how much he falls short of any party's good leaders. I could never imagine Reagan or even W as ornery as W could get. He at least understood that being president means you you have there's something that you have to live up to, a standard you have to live up to. Now, if you're some sort of entertainer, having such a misanthropic holiday message is, I guess, not. No, it's not great. It's not terrible. Sort of like a dosimeter at Chernobyl. but but when you're the president, it's not about you. I get the impression that sometimes Trump is trying to act like the president one sees on TV or in movies. He wants to act like he wants to be the big boss, the big leader. But here's the thing: even in situations like the commander in chief role, he's you know he's supposed to be in essence a he's supposed to be carrying it. It's Congress who decides when we go to war, not the president. Congress. How do we know this? Because the framers said it. Congress declare has the power to declare war, and only Congress. And the president is the commander in chief of the forces when it comes to that. I don't think that the framers anticipated in how many ways we would ultimately circumvent their intentions on the military and I mean the whole point of you know much of the prologue of the Second Amendment, the the security of the a well, let's see, a well regulated militia being necessary to the security of the state. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Why do you think they put it that way? Why do you think they put it that way? Well, if you look back on the history, a lot of the point of all that, a well organized militia is supposed to be something like the National Guard, not, a bunch of idiots in the backyards playing guns, playing cops and robbers, you know, rehearsing how they're going to take over the Capitol and commit insurrection against it. I mean, I think that's the thing right there. The right wing in America just doesn't appreciate how subversive it has become of our traditions, of our Constitution, of our, way of life. We complain about how America isn't great like it once was, but let's be blunt here. A lot of the things that they've made not so that have been made not so great. I mean, what have they been made not so great by? Our industries, what happened to them? Was it that they were all closed down because of pollution controls or labor stuff? No, they were closed down because investors wanted to be able to make, you know, they just wanted to be able to make a more unlimited profit. And domestic workers actually wanted to get paid. So they imbalanced the market. They went to China and ended up making China more of an industrial power, more of a technical power than it ever had the right to be, than it ever would have gotten to be on its own. And that's the irony of it. There's a kind of hubris at work, I think, in the modern Republican Party. I don't think it's all, that they are all corrupt and evil leaders. I don't think it's that the voters are all corrupt and evil themselves. No, I think a lot of them think they're doing the right thing. In fact, I think a lot of them are confident that they're doing the right thing. So confident, in fact, that they're willing to overlook a whole bunch of seriously pathological garbage because they think that we couldn't possibly, things couldn't possibly get so bad. There couldn't possibly be things going so bad for because of this that America might, suffer a major collapse or something like that. And unfortunately, that kind of hubris repeatedly bites us in the rear end. Pardon me. And that gets us back to these holiday messages of Trump's happy, happy, Merry Christmas, except to all the losers who this, that, or that. He's famous for doing these, little holiday messages, or not so little actually, that are just extensive gripe lists against his political enemies. And sort of like, and when I read them, let me tell you the truth about what my attitude is when I read them, conservative viewers. Let me tell you the truth. Tell it like it is. It's like, who put this guy in charge? If some CEO of some company did this, people would be, the investors would be going, you know, my God, pull this guy, fire this guy, pull him off pull, pull his access to the account. Somebody going off like this on these immature rants in these, self-serving, you know, attacks on his political enemies. This isn't what those holiday messages are about. There's a certain duty that a president has to, to making sure that this country looks like a serious country where serious people can do serious things. And when you got some old guy basically ranting about what his political enemies did or this or that, when he's supposed to be giving a all day message to the nation, huh, Trump is failing at a basic task. He's failing at something that shouldn't even be that difficult. It's it's not that difficult. I mean, his predecessor in terms of Republican presidents, his predecessors didn't have a problem sending out, you know, nice, good messages that didn't contradict the spirit of the occasion. You get back to just about everything and everyone who was recruited by Trump to run this administration. Just about everybody seems to be there to screw up their job, to wreck their agency, to make a mockery. I mean, who puts Cash Patel, a guy who wrote a children's book about Trump? Literally, that's not me making a, that's not a metaphor on my part. That's not me trying to make him sound weirder and more, you know, more sycophantic than he is. He People are getting their positions because they flattered Trump, helped Trump out in some political circumstance. They're not being recruited because they've got the skills to do the work. I mean, geez, Louise, look at Hegseth. He can talk about being a warrior, but he can't even get, well, for one thing, the basic rules of war down. He's talking about warrior culture, like we're some 12th century European fiefdom. Modern American military members are soldiers. What's the difference? Warriors are in it for personal glory. A warrior in a tribe is, like, think the Spartans. Now, that may be wonderful, but the difference between, the reasons why the Spartans eventually collapsed as a power is that the Spartans were better at, you know, putting down slave revolts in their own backyard than they were at dealing with the professional Athenian soldier. A warrior in ancient times was just somebody who would, you know, they weren't necessarily the best trained. They might have been just farmers as part of their day job, and occasionally they'd go out and pick up a sword or pick up a spear, and they would do their fighting. That's what he's thinking. He's thinking, the sort of tribal, sort of this or that. The reality is, what you want is a disciplined professional, not some blowhard espousing values that doesn't even really quite understand. The president, it shouldn't be this difficult for him to bring people together. It shouldn't be. Because, I mean, why would you want to put somebody in charge who basically tears the country apart, does much of the work of the enemy for them? I guess another topic that's gathered my notice, this it's the hepatitis B recommendation, the vaccine, the withdrawal of that. They didn't withdraw it because he had some new evidence. They withdrew it because, guess what? Our Secretary of Health and Human Services is an anti-vaxxer and doesn't even perhaps believe in germ theory. Instead, he believes, apparently, in something called miasma theory. And when you look at the title of some of these, sorry, I'm a bit, but it's like we're getting a lot of this crap because our Health and Human Services Secretary is an anti-vaxxer who believes in miasma theory. What is miasma theory? Yeah, what was where did the name influenza come from? Influence. They were thinking vapors, were causing that, and